Hello, friends. It's April 25th, which means it's St. Mark's Day. Happy St. Mark's Day. I've always been intrigued by how Mark ends his account of the resurrection abruptly, in medias res, as it were. But why? Did he intend to end it like this? Was a page somehow lost? Or since he was writing during the first persecution of Christians, did he have to get up from his writing table suddenly and flee for his life? Well, whatever happened, his gospel doesn't have an end in the traditional sense. But we want to know how the story ends. Yet Easter faith tells us that history, your history and mine, is still unfinished. So if our history is unfinished, that means we must learn to live with ambiguity, and that can be unsettling. We often talk about needing closure, some definitive, unmistakable line drawn under this event or the other. And there's no doubt that when it comes to all kinds of normal human situations, closure is important. But there's nothing normal or human about the resurrection. An ancient writer tried to give closure to Mark's gospel, mind you, adding several verses describing Christ's appearances to the apostles, his sending them out into the world, and his ascension. Clearly, he was as uncomfortable with loose ends as we are. But a loose end is also something that simply hasn't been tied off, a thread that has yet to be woven into a larger pattern. Loose ends mean that there are new possibilities yet to come. Life, even resurrection life, is open-ended, still happening, still evolving, still being revealed. So often we think of resurrection as being an open and shut case, when it's actually a shut and open case, an ongoing reality that you and I are part of. And while this is an exciting prospect, it's also frightening. For if things are always on the move, never finished, that perforce means that we will never be able to settle down, which we're told is what we should be trying to do. Lots of people have accepted this as an unshakable axiom. I know where I stand, they say. But standing hasn't much to do with the angel's statement that he is going before you into Galilee. True, it can be difficult to see the risen Christ clearly. He is sometimes too far along the path for that. But we can perceive powerful traces of his presence in the world, in the lives of those who have dared to walk out ahead of us and have discovered the joy of what being truly alive to the possibilities that are within themselves, within life itself, and which are waiting to be explored. Because resurrection is about constantly moving forward into the future where the risen one is waiting to be encountered. But even more than that, it's about discovering the ways we're called to continue in the here and now, the story that began in the garden with the empty tomb all those Easters ago. True, the resurrection lives we build now will be temporal and not eternal, but we still have enough fragments of Christ's life to help us build something that's worthy of the astonishing miracle Easter celebrates. If only we have the imagination and daring to do so. And imagination and daring are what's needed these days. Living as we do in the darkness of the sepulchre, sealed in by the notion that nothing can ever change, But if we have the courage to trust the voice that bids us take up the fragments of grace and glory that we have and continue working and writing and weaving the resurrection story into our own, we don't need to be tentative or frightened. All we need to do is walk out of the sepulchre's darkness into the garden's dazzling light. Write that Easter light into your lives, my dear friends. Have faith and keep on writing. Don't let the story end. That is, of course, until it ends in the New Jerusalem at the Supper of the Lamb. But that ending, of course, will be just the beginning of the new life in Christ Jesus, which will never end.